Hold on a second. Mic check. Mic check. You got my board on? Okay. Testing 1, 2.
Morning and welcome to Northeast State Community College for an open forum this morning with Dr. Joe Welch. Let me share a couple things with you all, if I may. When you ask a question, please, if you remember, get up, identify yourself by name and your affiliation. We will have some people who are watching this via the live stream who will send in questions. We had some yesterday, and then we will read those to the audience. If you have a question while Dr. Welch is answering the one that's out in the audience at that point, it'd be great if you could raise your hand so we could get somebody with the mic to you so we can keep this flowing. I didn't do this yesterday, and I sort of apologize, but it is great to have with us, too, many members of the search committee who served the last several months doing this. So I thank you all for being here, for your time and energy, and for the work that was done, which I think brought some good candidates here to Northeast State Community College for you all to consider as your next president. So with that, Joel, welcome. This is sort of like being in the Piedmont of North Carolina, isn't it? Sort of has the same type of feel. So,
does in a lot of ways.
Very much. So Dr. Welch is the Vice President of International Services at Forsyth Technical Community College in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I shared with him that my family, we lived in Winston-Salem for 9 years. So it's a beautiful part, but it'd be very similar to what we see here in Upper East Tennessee. So Dr. Welch, welcome. And let me start with the first question. Share with us what made you interested in applying for this job, and what makes you interested today to be here and share why you would like to be the next president of Northeast State Community College.
All right. Good morning. I hope everybody's having a great week. One just correction, I'm Vice President for Instructional Services, not International.
My bad. This is why I needed my glasses on this morning.
Getting old is not any fun. First, I think it's easy to tell you why I'm not here. And that is my goal, my desire is to be a president. But I'm not here because Northeast has a president vacancy. I'm not here just because I want to be a president. You know, there are lots of different colleges that come available, and that's not why I'm here. What really drives me, I'm in a great situation, great college, great place to live, having a lot of fun, good challenges. So, you know, I'm looking for a good situation, not just to be a president. I could spend the rest of my life as a chief academic officer and be happy. I don't need the ego stroke, and I don't need to generate that. But I do want to have an impact in a community. I do want to build partnerships and change students' lives. And so when our president at Forsyth Tech this past year announced his retirement, after I finished being mad at him for deciding that he was going to retire, I started to look around to see where might be some good opportunities in case you know, something's out there. You don't want to miss a good opportunity. And so I knew a little bit about Northeast. I knew primarily based out of the Regional Center for Advanced Manufacturing. And that was something I knew that had a regional reputation. It demonstrated that the college had some good partnerships with local communities. Then I looked online and started looking, and I saw that the college had entered into and joined with Achieving the Dream. I know some of the faculty and staff inside the college are probably a little nervous about some of the things with Achieving the Dream, but I've worked with Achieving the Dream in the past, and it's built around how we help students be successful. And that's a core of who I am. So that fit was something that I thought, wow, that would be fun to be able to get involved in and be able to work with the faculty and staff around a way that uses data. I'm a data-focused person. My background is engineering. I'm a civil engineer. I don't know a lot, but about dirt and poop. I find that in education, knowing a lot about dirt and poop seems to work pretty well. But I like data. I like to work on that. And Achieving the Dream fits that. So it's an opportunity to really work and raise the level of how we support students. And then one of the things that somebody said to me about the college, and they phrased it this way, that it was like the community had wrapped its arms around the college. And I want to be at a college that is integrated in the community, part of the community that we're driving. There's no better way to the middle class than a community college. And so I want to be a part of that. I don't want to be at odds with it. So again, that was something that I found to be very interesting. So then the other thing was, is I did a little research. I knew that I didn't see where the college had done a major capital campaign. That said to me, opportunity to get involved in the community, raise funds, and be able to grow the support system that our faculty and staff need to help drive students being successful. And then for me, when you put those things together, I think you have an opportunity to make Northeast State Community College not just a premier learning-centered institution here, not just regionally, but we can be involved nationally. And when you do that, you're able to bring in resources, you're able to make connections, you learn from other colleges. Aside from that, the Tennessee system, what you're doing with the Tennessee Promise, Tennessee Connect, these are things that I just find really interesting. And I know there are pros and cons to everything. I'm not naive on things, but I found those things to be interesting. So that's what drove me to Northeast from a professional standpoint. From a personal standpoint, I love the mountains. Beautiful place to live. I have 3 children. My youngest is 11. Be nice to her. If we do come as president, she is plotting takeover of the world. And so not sure if she's going to be a regent or a benevolent dictator yet, but she's on the move. But a great place to raise a family and just nice. So there was that. I'm a South Carolinian. I grew up in South Carolina. Have spent about 20 years in Greenville, South Carolina, the last several in North Carolina, have loved both places. But we're not that far from Greenville here, which is where a lot of our home base is. We're actually a little closer here than Winston-Salem. So from a personal standpoint, it fit. So just as you put those things together, I thought, wow, this would be a great opportunity. Wonder if they might be interested in me. Let's find out. And so I put together an application, did the work, and thank you. I get to stand in front of you today and say, hey, I'm happy to be here. So thank you.
Who's got the first question?
All right, come on. Who wants to? You got to be first.
Great.
All right, good, because I was about to call on somebody, because if you're going to stand in front of class, and I saw all of you, sir, you're looking around. You're not looking. Don't make eye contact just in case. Thank you for being first.
My name is Erin Ferris. I'm a sociology and anthropology professor here at Northeast State. My question is, you mentioned your 11-year-old. Would you encourage her to attend Northeast State, and why?
Yes, that's an easy question. I have 3 children. My oldest is at the University of South Carolina. He attended Greenville Tech because I forced him to. He was not happy about that decision. He was a bright student. He wasn't going to get a lot of scholarships. Most students, vast majority, should be starting at a community college. How in the world can I ask other people to send their kids here if my kids don't come? So he spent a year at Greenville Tech, transferred to the University of South Carolina. What it got him, we homeschooled. He actually did some dual enrollment before, so he had some credits. So he spent a year at Greenville Tech. Because of that, while being at 4 years at University of South Carolina, I know, community college, still 4 years at university. He's double majored in accounting and finance. He's minored in German and Spanish. He's done a semester study abroad, and he just spent 7 months with BMW as an intern. If he had not started at a community college, you could not have done that financially without significant major debt. My second girl, who's 19, she's not plotting to take over the world. She's just, anyway, love her to death. She's a daddy's girl, but she's a whole different kid. She's at Forsyth Technical Community College right now. Thinks she might be a history teacher. She's not sure exactly, so we'll see. But so absolutely, I would. And I think from a financial standpoint, it just makes a whole lot of sense. I am and have been in community colleges and state employees for 20-something years. I understand, our faculty salaries and where we are. You look in Tennessee, North Carolina, South Carolina, we're all battling a lot of the same things. So low cost is good, like low cost, but it also opens up opportunities. And let me give you one last thing. My son, who's a junior, so sometimes I would get email that was meant for him, which violated FERPA, by the way, but different issue, tried to correct that. I'm walking across campus with my son. He is, at that point, about an 18-year-old, young, white male. He sees around about a 40-year-old African-American lady. My son says, "Hey, how are you doing?" Calls her by name, runs over to her, is talking to her, and walk off and say, "How did you know her?" "Oh, she was on a project with me in class." You can't get that at a university. When he went to the University of South Carolina, great school, I love South Carolina, I love university, never could that happen in that way if he'd have gone straight to a university. The diversity of his experience in the classroom and the people that he got to meet, you don't get that anywhere. And I'm not sure as community colleges we sell that in the way that we should, because across, and here it was, you check off all the little boxes for diversity if you want to, but it wasn't just about race, age, among, socioeconomic status. We could go down the list. My son now has a contact. He's had to figure out how to operate on a project team with a student coming from a completely different background. You don't get that anywhere else. That's community college. That's the benefit that we have.
Got a question right here in the middle.
My name is Robin Bird. I'm in the grants office in the finance area. And I wrote my question down because I get nervous and forget.
You're not as nervous as I am. It's okay.
Probably not.
Y'all are scary.
Our college budget must cover expenses like salaries and benefits and items required for offices and programs to operate each year. For any funds remaining after those costs are covered, please share your thoughts on how you think those remaining funds should be used.
Oh, okay. I thought you might ask how we were going to get those funds. I was going to tell you that was your job. Okay. I think that goes to what your strategic plan is. So you look at the strategic plan here. It talks about improving access and strengthening student success, building high-quality programs. So if you look at where you put your resources, that strategic plan should drive that in. So hopefully, if you're getting grants, for example, generally you're getting grants for specific purposes. And obviously, if you get a grant for one purpose, you don't spend that for something else. That drives into that purpose. So that means that it's not just about getting a grant. You should be targeting the grants into areas where you have needs. And then you look at the companies maybe or industries that you serve, and you ask them to invest in the areas that they're most concerned about. So at Forsyth Tech, we're very heavy healthcare. Our hospitals have given us money to support our healthcare education. So it frees that up when we look at that. Other areas that I think of as you invest is professional development. As we look at where technology is advancing, faculty, staff, you look at the college, we've got to be able to keep up with that on professional development. But at the heart, the strategic plan here, when you talk about access and student success, if that's going to be our strategic plan and that's going to be our priority, then that should drive our investment. And so we have to look at where and how we build the scaffolds around our students to give them their best opportunity for success. And I think that's where you always look first and then you work out of that. As I would say to someone, and remember, I told you I'm an engineer. I came through and started teaching in hazardous materials. I can teach most principles on an older piece of equipment, but I cannot support students with last century's methods. So we have to look at how that goes. By the way, for all my technical folks, I want top-of-the-line equipment, et cetera, too. But so I think you got to work through what that plan is and really let that drive your expenses to what you're trying to do.
We have a question back here in the front.
Ruth Livingston. I teach speech here for 14 years. You mentioned that education is the way to middle class. I'm one of those folks who started college at 30, went to community college, and because I got pretty tired of being poor. So what can we do, or what would you do to reach out to the diverse community and develop programs that will draw them in? Right now, our enrollment is staying kind of flat. So how can you help us improve that and the economy here?
Well, one, flat enrollment is not bad if you look around the country. My college, we've gone through about 4 or 5% declines over 6 or 7 years. This past year is the first year we've actually stabilized enrollment. We're very happy. I don't think there's a silver bullet. I think it's a matter of meeting students where they are. You know, your motto here, we're here to get you there. I like that, but I would say we're here, but if your students are over there, what good does it do us being here? We've got to go where the students are. And you got to think in those terms. And that means, and I know you're faculty members, I'm sorry, I'm going to just tell you what I think. That means that the way you set schedules up and some of what you do can't be about faculty convenience. It's got to be about what drives the student's success, what gives them their best opportunity. Now, I want faculty to have the best schedules they can. You want to do everything you can. But the student experience has got to drive that. So how do we meet those students? What do you do with a single mom who doesn't have health care? What processes do you have in place? I don't know if has anybody seen University of Phoenix latest commercial that just came out a few weeks ago? It is brutal for us in some ways. Basically, it ends with a student going to a door where the instructor started and the door's locked and she can't get in, and so she's out. Now, we encourage our faculty to lock their doors for safety and a lot of things that are going on. But I have said to faculty, for example, you have a student who comes in 5 or 10 minutes late because they're riding the bus and you're not letting them in. Does it hurt your, where do we meet the students? And we have to teach being on time, soft skills and all. I'm not talking about that. But I am talking about coming to it from a perspective of trying to figure out how we help students get there. And that means you got to figure out where they are and go to them. It's not, like I said, it's not a silver bullet by any means. It's hard work. We measure, and I've seen your measures online, you measure student success, retention by group from fall to fall, persistence, fall to spring. You may use a little bit different definitions, but that's what I use. Student success, what were the grades in classes? But student success is one student at a time. It's that student standing in front of you and you helping that student. So several years ago, I have a young lady, single mom, sitting in my desk. She is majoring in one of our engineering programs. So she's a female in a male-dominated area. She's in tears. She was taking, I think, 5, maybe 6 classes. She's in her last semester for graduation. She had just been hired for an internship, so she was working 20 to 25 hours a week. I said she's a single mom. She's coming apart. Now, I went to a military college. I'm an engineer. I grew up in the mindset of if you can't hack it, move on. That would have been a really bad answer. So I sat and talked to her. What we did, you know what? You've got a great internship. These folks love you. They're going to hire you. Let's drop a class and delay graduation a semester. You're okay. And that's exactly what she did. Dropped a class. She graduated next semester. Company hired her full time. She had success. Success one student at a time. You got to go where they are. You got to reach them. And I realize I'm kind of rambling through because there is no silver bullet. It's what does the student need and then trying to figure out how you meet that need.
Well, faculty here never find faculty who is for student success group. And we really care about our students. My question is, how are you going to get them to?
Well, you have to address what the barriers are. And when I look across this area, You know, how do you deal with transportation? You know, for me, if I have a flat tire coming to work, no big deal. I go buy another one or fix it. For a lot of our students, the difference between success and failure is a flat tire. So you look across this area and the type of area it is. What's your transportation like? Does it exist at all? Not much, does it? I mean, you can see that when you do your internet search. Okay, so if we have a student who doesn't have transportation, that's a tough nut to crack. Childcare. What are you going to do about childcare? When we run, I run a list, I look at the data, I can tell you that the primary reasons we lose students, I bet it's the same here, we lose students primarily due to personal issues, usually related to childcare, transportation, job issues, family. Healthcare comes in as a big one, but it goes through. If you want more coming in, you got to address those issues. So how are we partnered with social service agencies to help students locate them? I do not think as a community college we should be a social service agency. I don't. But we ought to have pretty doggone good partnerships with social service agencies so we help students link to the people that can provide the sources. And then you got to market. You want more students coming in, you got to market. That means you've got to invest in some of that. So you have to look at what your resources are. You're running dual enrollment opportunities in every high school in your service area. That's a great start. You got to present at PTAs. You got to look at job and education fairs, the Tennessee Reconnect, the students over 25 that are coming back. Where do you reach them? We did marketing at one point on all the HR boards in local industry. You're working production and you want to advance, come get a degree. We saw a little bit of success, not massive, but you chip away. You chip away at each little piece. There is not, I'm not going to sit here and tell you, there's not a silver bullet. It's about being consistent and consistent and consistent in front of students, talking to parents, talking to families, and selling a career and not the job. Sell the career and not the job. Most of the students, especially down in the millennials, we see some around here, most of the millennials, not most, I shouldn't say it that way, but a lot of millennials, when they do surveys, they expect to be the CEO next week. So sell the career, and the career starts with a job. It takes time to get there. You can be the CEO. We can help you get there. So if you sell that, you can chip away at the little pieces of it. But we're not going to roll out a marketing campaign next week and our enrollment double. It just doesn't work that way. It's hard work. Faculty, staff, all of us together doing presentations in high schools, going to the Rotary clubs, the Kiwanis clubs, the businesses and industries. We have I was over at the RCAM this morning, great partnerships with local industry. Industry drives in and let them help us recruit. And there's some of that going on. I realize that to get it in. And the other thing I will say, let me leave it with this, is if you really are going to drive the enrollment up too, you got to be really, really good at retention. And so the more you get the retention going, that'll help drive your enrollment up too. So sometimes it's easier to deal with the retention than it is the access when you look at things like transportation, childcare, and some of the things that can be very expensive. Retention, you got them here, so they've already shown an interest. So, how do you link them in and build supports around them? So I'm sorry, I wish I could tell you, I wish I had a really magic solution, but it's not. It's just hard work, piece by piece.
Our next question is here, and then we're going to have one that's come from online.
Okay.
Dr. Welch, my name is Carson Waugh. I work in marketing. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
You come from Greenville Tech Community College, which has a really good reputation, as well as Forsyth, where you're currently at. And if I'm not mistaken, you carry around 11,000 students in Winston-Salem area. My question is, what would you bring to Northeast State with a lower population of students as a strength, and what would be your obstacles as a future president here?
Greenville Tech is around 11,000 students now. Forsyth Tech, we're about 8,000 fall enrollment. So we were a little over 10,000 at the height of the recession. we've fallen back down. We're about 8,000, 7,800, a little over 7,800 this fall, just to kind of give you a little bit of a picture. The obstacle is pretty easy, I think. The obstacle is the things that I think I know that I really don't know. You change systems, you change college. I've been doing community colleges for over 20 years. I've been an instructor, I've been a department chair. I've worked in the South Carolina system, I've worked in the North Carolina system. There are things I think I know about how the college does things, and I'm wrong. That is, to me, that's the biggest thing that I think of when I come in. What I bring in, I think, is I've had an opportunity to work with 2 leading institutions. I've had the opportunity to work with 3 different presidents that were all very different, but all have national reputations. And one of the things that I think I bring in is some access to a little bit of that network to help us make some of those connections. I think that I bring in, for me, when I look at it and I look at where Northeast has been, I've worked under, especially the last several years, Dr. Gary Green at Forsyth Tech, very physically conservative, very oriented to faculty success and how we treat our employees. And I know you probably do some of those things, but that's something that I think I've had a couple of folks that I've worked with that have really helped me grow in those areas. And I think those are areas that I have some strengths in all the way around.
So here's our online question, and it's from, help me here, is it this one here? Which one? Right there. Dr. C. Keith Young. I'd like to hear Dr. Welch's philosophy and practice of leadership, how he addresses and engages with students, staff, and faculty.
All right. Is that our video camera? I'll get a crank in my neck if I look at you the whole time. My theory of leadership is servant leadership first as a start. I think a leader works for the people. It's just what I've always believed. I believe that a leader must be high integrity, absolutely critical. I think a leader has to be transparent. If you don't know what the leader thinks, then how in the world do you know where you're going? And the third one I phrase in terms of this way, I think in terms of consistency. The old saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. I believe very strongly that a leader should be consistent. So you follow the standards that you put in place. One of the things that drove me, and if any of my colleagues at Greenville or Forsyth are watching, I love y'all. So, but I'm gonna say this anyway. One of the things that drove me crazy several years ago, actually before Forsyth in Greenville, we decided that people needed to wear name tags. Y'all got a bunch of name tags on, look nice. I'd go into meetings with vice presidents and presidents, they wouldn't have name tags on. That drives me nuts. I just type of thing, just how in the world can you expect people to do things you don't do? So I think in terms of that, integrity, transparency, and consistency. Now that doesn't mean that everything is the same for every person, because you've got different people doing different things at the campus, and you want to treat people in their place. So how do you interact and engage, I think, is the other thing. With students, as much as possible, try to just be out on campus. I try as I walk across campus to look students in the eye and say, hey, what's going on? I am a focused individual in a lot of ways. I'm also a bit ADD. I am weird in that sense. So if I don't think about it, I'm in my own world. So I have to stop, I have to think, and I look for opportunities. So just last spring, I was heading over and I had a young student sitting on the steps and he was rubbing his ankle. I had to stop. Hey, what's going on? He had come back to Forsyth Tech. He played college at another local university and needed to come back, and he had sprained his ankle. And so we were talking about how you get around campus. So you look for those opportunities. You bring in and utilize your student government and your student ambassadors to work through. We re-energized our Phi Theta Kappa this year. So hanging out with the folks in that. I think you hit those things when you look to hit students. With staff, I'm a big proponent of walking around, and I'm also a big proponent of formal meetings. I do not like to have meetings just to have meetings, but you do need to touch base. So I do run an open door policy. If I have a privilege of being a president here, I'm going to run an open door policy. I also support the chain of command. I'll ask people, have you talked, have you done, but I do. I'm willing to talk to anyone there. So you get out and hit the different groups on campus, and make sure as you put together teams, you involve the people that are there. So I'm in process of hiring a dean. I have student services people who sit on my committee. I reach out, I get them in. Just this year, and it's something I run into a lot of my faculty in various informal ways. I try to drop in on different groups. But one thing I realized last year as I was talking to a dean, we had a couple of issues running. So I went back and I now meet with every department chair in fall and every department chair in spring. Now, as president, I'm not sure what that'll look like, but there will be something similar that I will do. You got to connect with people. You got to talk to people. You got to reach out to them. I love participating in what student activities are going on. You've got 20,000 leagues under the sea. I thought I might get lucky and see something on the stage eventually, but you participate in those. You get out with them. Throw little events. Have pizza with the president or pizza with the dean. Get out and talk to folks wherever you can, because you just cannot touch people too much. Give you another example. We went through a change with our grading scale at Forsyth Tech. I met with every single faculty group to group to group, and I talked and I talked and I talked all the way around. And then the last thing, and I'll leave it this way, is be upfront. One of the things you will get with me is if I bring together a student group and I ask for student input, you should have a pretty good idea what level of authority you have. Are you giving advice? Are you making decisions? Or is it just information? Same thing with faculty and staff. You put together a faculty team or staff team, what's the level of authority? If you're not really expecting them to make a decision, don't tell them they're making the decision. Ask them for advice or ask them for information. We recently changed our schedule from 16 weeks to 15 weeks. I went around again. I'm meeting with folks all over campus. And I always started my conversations pretty much this way. I am not trying to generate consensus. We got too many people and there are too many opinions. What I want is give me what you think. Because at the end of the day, I was going to have to make the decision and I'm going to have to live with it. I got faculty that love it. I got faculty that hate it. Most of the staff are pretty pleased with it. But we'll see. We'll have to reevaluate it after we get some more data around how the success is going. But that's the way I generally operate on most things. If there's not a pressing need to make the decision immediately, then go find out what people think. And with that, and they mentioned students and staff, but that's also the community. You got to hit the community, folks. Find out what the leaders in the community are looking for. What are your county commissioners? We have 5 counties in the service area here. Carter County's needs versus Sullivan County's needs are different. You got to think about that, and you got to be listening so that you can figure out how you meet those needs as much as possible.
You got a question right here on the front row.
My name is Frances Canedo. I'm the Dean of Humanities. I have 2 questions because you mentioned about the barriers for our students, and they are definitely transportation and daycare. So that's something that we would like to have here on campus, but we don't have the resources. So my first question is, how would you tell me about your experience with fundraising and how would you get some of those funds to create a program for transportation and childcare for students here? And my second question is, you have a background in engineering, and so you come from the technical part. You are standing in our Regional Center for the Performing Arts. It's one of the best centers in the area for what we do. Thank you for the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea kick there. So please tell us, what do you think about the humanities and why do you think they are important?
Okay. First, I said this to the committee when I interviewed. Both of the institutions I've worked with, the foundation office and the president drove a lot of the fundraising. So things that we did coordinated through that, and that's the way that I operated. You come here as a president, it's a different level, different idea. So I have been very successful in getting grants. I have been very successful working with companies to bring in things. For example, we brought in a garbage truck for our diesel program. It's about a $60,000 vehicle to come in. The way that you do that, you got to show your needs. So for us, right now at Forsyth Tech, we have a lab school where we can take just a small number of children into a daycare type deal. We have a couple of folks in the community that are very interested in that. We've had to go out and show them what it would look like, how we invest the money, and you take time. We had a couple, one of the largest donations that came to Forsyth Tech for Career Center. I was involved in that by giving the tour, showing the folks this is what the Career Center would be, this is what it would look like. So when you talk about the two issues that you raised, one, transportation, I'll flat out tell you, I don't have a great idea on transportation right now. I just don't. It is a tough deal in a community as spread out as our service area. It's expensive. I mean, you've got to invest a heck of a lot of resources, and then you have people coming from different areas, long distances. I'm not going to blow smoke at you. That's a tough nut to crack. I'm happy to work with our community leaders to try to figure out a way that we could approach that, but that's only going to be solved, I think, as a regional community within our county and cities working together, and that's time. The daycare, and as I understand it, you've got about a $700,000 grant for the next 3 years or so to help provide daycare. I think that's a matter of working with local child care agencies. At Greenville, we had a daycare center on campus. You can take a few students that way. Forsyth Tech, we have a small lab school, so you can do a little bit there. It's expensive. You're never going to be able to have your own daycare on campus with the college can't put enough resources to truly serve. We're about 6,100 students, fall enrollment here. You're not going to be able to do that. And I'm just playing, just with our current resources. So you've got to partner with the local social agencies across the county who in many cases do have funds to help needy families that can provide some child care. I will tell you, then the issue becomes transportation. A lot of times they're linked. So you knock over one domino in this case, it does not knock the other one down. They are mutually exclusive in some cases. So again, it's working with the communities to look at that. Child care workers do not make a lot of money. You can't expect child care agencies to take in the children of our college students for free. You've got to raise money to help them so they can stay financially viable. So I was very excited to see the grant, but as I'm sure you know, $700,000, that's a lot of money, right? No, not when you put it into child care over 2 or 3 years. But that is definitely something that helps. So how do we find some more grants that work with that? How do you look at things like Head Start, some of those issues that can maybe provide some support? And Head Start's a little different. Now you get into some of the kindergarten, but you get into some of that to work with that. So you try to pick up some. Again, both of those are tough issues. As far as the humanities, I am an engineer. Well, I'll tell you a story. I graduated from the Citadel, and our department chair, Colonel Lindbergh, was having a meeting with all the seniors, finishing up to ask us about the program. And one of my good friends was complaining that we had to take philosophy or psychology and English and all of this stuff. He's complaining. I still remember, I won't call him by name, but Colonel Lindbergh looked over at this guy. He said, I'll say dude, but he called him by name. He said, dude, do you really want to be a technical weenie? At the time, I probably would have said yes, but I don't want to be a technical weenie. The humanities, the social sciences are how we prevent people from being technical weenies. It's where we teach them how to think about the world and the fact that as an engineer, if I design a road, There's sociological impacts. There's things that happen around them. How do we do that? Yes, a lot of our students who are going into the technical areas, just like I did, probably would tell you they don't mind being technical weenies. We have to work to change that, because what happens around us through our social interactions, and you pick that up in humanities, are just so important. When you look at the world, I'm not getting into politics at all, but if you just look at where we are politically with the sides, you got to be able to talk to people. Goodness, and that's social sciences, that's humanities, I'm not a touchy-feely person, but the truth is we need to be able to touch each other. We need to be able to feel emotions. We got to be empathetic. How do you do that if you don't understand where people are coming from? And I didn't learn where people were coming from when I learned how to design a bridge. I learned how to put rebar in a concrete to hold up cars so it doesn't fall down. I can do that. The people working that job and the people driving across it matter. And I couldn't say it any better. I will tell you on the side note, I did through my local church in Greenville. I ran a drama team for years. Like to do drama, worked with that. We participated in fine arts competitions, from speech to art to drama to music. And so it's something that I think we have to keep growing. I didn't mention this earlier. Thank you for asking the question, because I should have said this. One of the things I loved about Northeast when I looked at it is where you're sitting right here, the Performing Arts Center, to be part of the community. Someone told me this morning that it's Barter Theater, like 60 or 70 miles up the road, that they actually come and do classes here. Oh, wow, that's cool. That's just cool. So that's me.
Got a question right here. And then back there. Okay. And then up here. And those will be the last three, because I want to leave you time for final remarks. Mayor?
I got a couple questions. My name is Rusty Barnett. I'm the Carter County Mayor. So we're really very happy to have an off-campus part of this campus. We was talking about travel and stuff, and one of my questions is, do you foresee maybe, I know it's early in the stage, maybe adding some classes later to where our people, we're tickled they have to drive, but save them from having to drive so far. It's about a 40-minute drive, and maybe add some classes to where they could have more on campus in Carter County to save the drive. But like I say, we're not fussing about it. We're just asking about it. That's one question. And two, I asked this question yesterday. My family, it's all about sports. My family, I've got stepsons and sons that one went to UVA Wise, one went to Virginia Tech, played sports, one went to UT and played, had one went to Millikan College. We've been a different one. And they went to college anyway, but that give them a little more fire, you know. And do you foresee anything happening maybe sports-wise here later on? And my last question, I've been picking up bits and pieces on the aerospace program here. And we've got a lot to offer in Carter County. What better place to have an aerospace class or two than right across from an airport? You know, we got a little airport there across, and then we got the best TCAT, state-of-the-art TCAT in the state, you know. So we've got a lot to offer. And what do you foresee for Carter County?
Okay. You're going to have to remind me of some of those questions. That's okay. That's all right. First, as far as classes offering, it's not a simple answer. I tell folks all the time, I'm not going to blow smoke at you. As a community college, we have a limited set of resources. We have to think about it from a business standpoint of how we're going to offer. So whenever we schedule classes at off-site locations, the schedule is linked. So if you put a class in Carter County and it pulls students from here, and it's a great class, if we open another online class here and there are students who are driving to Carter, they'll pull right out. So the way that we make that work is you've got to think of it in terms of an integrated schedule. I don't know enough about the college right now to tell you what that integrated schedule looks like. I do believe and support taking classes where the students are. So you need enough students to make the class financially viable. You need a qualified instructor that can get there, and you got to have space. You do those things, then, you know, as a college, you can make that work. The thing to keep in mind, whether we intend it or not, because schedules are linked, what we do here or at Kingsport or Johnson City with online, with hybrid, students will move here and there. And so in Forsyth Tech, for example, I have several centers. They want certain classes on that center, and we'll have a small class of, say, 9. We're good to go. We know we're going to run it with 9. But I've got pressure to open another online class on my main campus. I'll open that online class, and now I have 4 students at my center. If we don't address that, then we can't hit it. I will tell you, we service a small rural county, Stokes County, right above us. We've worked with that county to build, and we got some county funds. We also got a Golden Leaf grant to help us with that. And so by putting a building there, we were able to bring the students into that. And so we're able to run a nursing cohort there. So it was a partnership. The county actually owns the land and the space. And then between the Golden Leaf grant, a state bond, and some county support, we were able to put a building there. And then the other thing we did, and I think you've got some of this in Carter County for us all, we put an early college at the college site. That gave us enough students in some of our base classes to be able to run them, and those students wouldn't bail out on our other part of our schedule. So that worked there. That may not, you know, I would have to learn and figure out and sit with our leadership here and with you. What I can tell you is my desire is to find the yes, not the no, but to be completely upfront about where we are and how things link. The other thing you mentioned, I'm missing one in there, you mentioned aerospace. I know from what I've seen online and talking to Richard Blevins some, I know, and I'm involved in this at Forsyth, I was at Greenville, we're looking to get FAA certification. When you get FAA certification, they're going to put certain restrictions on. There's certain things they're just not going to let you do. There are parts of that, maybe composite training, maybe avionics, where you definitely could run some of those classes at an off-site center and be able to offer that there. My research is looking at things on the internet, and I know everything on the internet is true. But I obviously would have to come in and learn a little bit more. I can tell you if I do, I will and get it in. And I'm missing one. You had a question in between there. That's a hot button question. You asked me a tough question. I have never worked at a community college that had sports. I've talked to several colleagues that did. There are pros and cons to it. If it's done well, it seems to help generate interest in some school spirit. But in some other cases, it sure seems to cost a heck of a lot of money. So where does that priority fit? So if you're going to spend money, and it's going to cost you money, so that I can't invest in some classroom technology because you only got a certain budget, what benefit do I get out of the sports? If I can be shown that that benefits our students and our community to where it's worth the investment, I'm all for that. I know at Greenville, as part of a team, we looked at it pretty hard. At the end of the day, our conclusion was the cost was not going to match the benefit that we would get. Very possible to reach a different conclusion. I'm just telling you what we had there. I'm a big sports fan. I told you my son's at the University of South, I may not say this, my son's at the University of South Carolina. I like the Gamecocks, and you just have to be a long-suffering fan to pull for South Carolina. So, I'm a big sports fan, but it hurts. It's painful. Yeah, Tennessee's, but you guys destroyed Auburn the other week. That was fantastic. So, I mean, any Auburn fans in the house? I don't hate you, but anyway.
We got a question, Dr. Welch.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing today?
Doing well.
Good. So I'm TJ Chase. I'm a student here at Northeast State, and I'm also president of Student Tennessee Education Association. I was curious as to if you had any ideas of how you would increase student activity club wise, because we've noticed a lack in membership this year. Thank you.
I don't know what that means. Oh, okay.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. One, you have to recognize who you are, your commuter institution. So if you only put activities at times that are convenient for traditional college students, you miss a great big part of your population. Two, if you only run activities for the traditional college student, your adult students aren't real interested in that. So you got to think in a more diverse format about time and schedule and the type of activities that you bring into that. I love Phi Theta Kappa. I think there's just a great way there to deal with that academically. I am a big fan of study abroad and being able to experience global environment. I think that brings students together. And then, you know, as a college, you got to invest and support it also. So I've looked at some of the student fees. I'm not sure exactly how the budget here works, but you've got to budget and target into areas that will help support that and get people together. But you got to be realistic. You're a commuter institution. So when do you have the access to the most students to do things with? And what I see a lot of community colleges do, we've done it at Forsyth Tech, we'll have a group of younger traditional students and they'll schedule something at the exact same time, say every Tuesday at 1, when all of our older students took morning classes, they're on their way to work. So maybe you make that more flexible to provide some opportunities for people to come in. You look for maybe some opportunities in the evening or morning. But with that, the best way and the only way that it's really going to work is students have got to become ambassadors to their peers and think about and pull in other people to those activities to get them going. President can do lots of things. You can throw money at all kinds of things, but if you don't have a good product and it's not at the right time, money won't do anything for it. So, and if the students don't draw in, faculty and staff aren't going to draw. It's got to be. So what I've seen in a lot of cases, you have really good student leadership. Student organization takes off lots of people. That person moves on. The next leader's not quite as good, and it falls off. If we can do a little bit better maybe of developing the leadership so that you keep that consistent, you can have a better success with student organizations. I do think they're important. I saw online, I think you do, and I don't know if you still do because I wasn't sure, but are you doing intramural sports? Okay, it was on the internet. So. Okay.
So Dr. Welch.
Somebody tell him which intramural sports. Afterwards we do.
We got a question there, and then the last one is going to be over here. So your question.
One of the controversial topics right now in Tennessee is outsourcing. And I definitely want to know what your view of outsourcing is in the context of, and I hope most people would agree with me, we're a family here. We're a big family who laughs, who cries, who fights, who gets together afterwards. But one thing I've noticed after working at 3 different colleges and now being here for 11 years, when the chips are down, nearly anyone will drop what they're doing and say, what can I do to help? You know, so they have a vested interest in the health of this college. Again, what's your views on outsourcing and what would you do to help keep our family together? I know it's a leading question, but I asked the same question to the person yesterday. So
I read the newspaper article. That's all.
I'm sorry. I'm Jim Hendricks, Director of Enrollment Services.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Probably the safe answer would be just tell you absolutely not. Outsourcing's tricky in a lot of ways. Physically, sometimes you do save money, but what do you lose? So, you know, it's easy to say, I'm going to outsource my janitorial services and I'm going to save $10,000 a year. What do you lose? You know, is the contractor going to be there when the toilet overflows on the 3rd floor at 4:55 on a Thursday afternoon and you got students coming in for class? If the equation is pure money, oh yeah, we'll outsource. We're going to save $10. But the equation's not pure money. It's about your people. It's about your service. So I wouldn't say that I'm absolutely opposed to any consideration of outsourcing. I would say you got to take care of your people. And what are you going to lose? What kind of morale are you going to create around the rest of the institution? Is that going to be worth the $10,000 you might save over here? Don't be a dummy. So we at Forsyth Tech, we outsourced our bookstore. Here, the system office has it, your Follett. We went with Barnes & Noble. I can tell you, I was actually on the selection committee that went through. We spent a lot of time, and let me say this clearly, I was not the negotiator, okay? I was part of the selection team, part of some of the meetings. We spent a lot of time writing into the contract how they had to treat anybody that was moving over. We actually, a couple of folks that would move over to Barnes & Noble, we held them as college employees long enough that they could pick up their state retirement. We had to look at that because of where our bookstore was. So I'm not in a rush to outsource anything. I'll tell you a story I heard years ago. I can't give you the veracity of the story. It's one of those things I heard. But it was one of the gas station companies, 77, I think, or Gulf, might have been Gulf, I think. And they were talking about we need to just hire different people to come in and run our stores. And somebody said to them, "Are you crazy? Our owner-operators of those stores are the only people that'll work 65 hours a week to make that store go. If we hire somebody from the outside, they're never going to have the commitment of our owner-operator. Our college employees are our owner-operators." So, anytime you outsource, you lose some of that commitment. I don't care. You just lose some of that commitment. So I think you have to think about things. I mean, I don't write off any options. I think about things. But let's weigh all the costs. Let's not just put on the table, oh, it's going to save us $1 or it's going to save us 10. What do we really lose? And like any good, strong organization, our employees, faculty, and staff sitting in this room, most important asset resource we have. We can't take care of you. We can't do anything else well.
Dr. Welch, our last question is here to your left.
Thank you. My name is Zachary Staten. I'm an honor student here at the school. My question is, right now we have a fantastic motorsports program here at the college. We have
Say that last part, what type of program?
A motorsports program,
Motorsports,
sorry.
okay.
I'll speak up. And in this program, we build and maintain these fantastic cars, but none of them race. The last one that's seen a race was 2003. My question is, would you be interested in expanding Northeast State's motorsports program, not only as an opportunity for students to learn, but advertising for the school?
I love motorsports. We have a motorsports program at Forsyth. We had a motorsports program in Greenville too. I will tell you this. I argued hard at Greenville for allowing us to race cars. I was turned down. There was a liability issue around that. I understand where it was coming from. My question, and I say all that to say that I think motorsports is a pretty awesome deal. What I would want to get in as far as expansion, I'm not for expanding any program unless we have good paying jobs on the other end. Okay? Flat out transparent, I have not looked at how big our motorsports program is here. I don't know what the job market is. I know you got Bristol Motor Speedway just up the road. I've watched races there, camped there, been there a few times. But what I would want to do, I would take that program, okay, what's our job market like? And if we're turning out 10 students and we have 100 jobs, we need to grow the program. Then that means we need to go find companies who will help us grow. And by grow, I mean we're going to need more equipment. We're going to need some expensive things if you're going to do motorsports correctly, between your engine dynos, your transmission dynos, some of the things that you need to really build a program. And then the other thing is, what does the job market look like? So just a few months ago, I was at Richard Childress Racing. They're not going to hire somebody generally out of a 2-year program to come in and set their race car up. They do hire machinists. They hire welders. They hire electronic specialists. So is our program training people the right way? Are we specializing people in the right area? So right now, I don't know exactly what the market looks like, but I would want to look at that market. How do we meet that market? And then, if there's the need, then we go look for the resources to figure out how to grow it. From that standpoint, if we could work out the liability and all of the things that go with putting a car on the racetrack, I am all for putting a car out there to run and stick Northeast State on the side, run everybody else off the road so we're at the front at the end. Love to win. I hate to lose. But you know, I love that side of it. But there's a lot of other factors you got to consider with that.
Dr. Welch, thank you for your answer to our questions. So let me leave the last couple minutes for you to share any closing thoughts with us.
Thank you for taking time to come out. I mentioned at the beginning, one of the things that interests me about the institution was a community having its arms around it. And I think as I look around, you know, coming in from Carter County, having folks here, I love seeing that. It helps me know that this is a great place to be. And I am excited about the opportunity. I really think there's an opportunity and a potential that we can do great things. There is nothing really special about me. I'm an engineer. I've been in community colleges for about 20 years. I'm average intelligence, average height. My weight used to be almost average. But I can tell you this, I love what we do. And I would love to be a partner here with you to give every student their best opportunity to be successful and change lives, build our community, and just keep growing. And I say it this way, we want to bring in all of our students here. We want them to be successful. We want them to go get jobs. We want you to make lots of money so you can pay more taxes and I can have a raise. I need you to be successful. That, I think, is really what we're about, is students being successful. Because if we raise that level, it raises the whole community. It's been a privilege to have a chance to talk to you. Really appreciate it. It's obviously a great place. I would do everything in my power not to mess it up. So thank you. I appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you. And let me thank all of you all who came today and those who've been watching us through the live stream. It is recorded, so if you want to go back and look at it, go to the TBR website. You will find the video there so you can see it again. Please tell those who you know who weren't here to go look at it. And I want to ask you to do one other thing. For 5:30 Eastern Time next Friday, the 26th of October, there is an online survey for you to share your comments, your reactions to Dr. Welch and also to Dr. Flora from yesterday who was here. I encourage you to do that. It's very helpful for Chancellor Tidings to hear and read your thoughts of the candidates who've been here. That will help her as she's making this assessment and as she prepares then to make a recommendation to us as members of the Board of Trustees, of the Board of Regents, sorry. So please do that. You'll find it online. But take the time to do it. It's not that long. It's got just a handful of questions, but that input, your input, is going to be very important in making the selection. So again, thank you all very much. And Dr. Welch, thank you for your interest in Northeast State Community College.
Thank you.
There's a reception to my left. If you all would like to join Dr. Welch, he will be there out in the hallway. Thank you all.